Welcome back to Before the Bell. This week we're talking about UFC Fight Night 77. Belfort versus Henderson, Part 3. This is going to be an interesting matchup of two old characters that still have a lot of fight left in both of them. But first, the co-main event, Teixeira and Cummings. This one is interesting to me because Cummings is a former Penn State wrestler, amazingly good. Of course, his story as a barista, getting the phone call up to battle against Daniel Cormier. Yeah, I get it. It's got a good story, but that's not the real story. The real story is how good his wrestling is, but is it going to be that good against Teixeira? What do you think, Nick?
It's a difficult matchup. I mean, and the odds clearly state that as well. Right now, looking over at 5 times, it's Teixeira minus 525. The comeback is plus 415 on Cummins. I opened it a little bit lower, but I still opened Teixeira pretty high because of the matchup, and they are betting him up. They're putting him in parlays as well. Stylistically, it is just a tough matchup. I mean, you got a guy in Teixeira that's amazing on the ground, has decent wrestling in his own right, and then obviously he has good hands, good boxing. He's the better striker, and then the jiu-jitsu. I mean, so anywhere the fight takes place, honestly, Teixeira is going to be game.
Teixeira is ranked number 4 right now, and Cummings is ranked number 9. And I love going to UFC.com and going through and looking at their schedule and breaking down the fights because they give you everything you pretty much need. If you're looking at height and weight, they're both the same height, they're both the same weight, they have the same reach. The only real difference is that Cummings has an inch longer leg. So what does that mean for leg kicks? Is it going to be able, does it mean for head kicks? It would mean something if he was a big kicker, but Cummings isn't a big kicker. So it just means that he's going to stand, he's going to have a little bit more for Teixeira to attack, a little bit more for Teixeira to try to take him down with. But I don't see Glover taking him down at all. I don't see Glover doing anything more than beating him up on his feet. But Cummings has got that real tenacious driving power that most wrestlers have. Do you think it's going to equate to anything in this fight? Do you think he's going to be able to weather that storm and eke out, from a lot of fans' point, a long, drawn-out, boring decision because he's going to have to do a lot of lay and pray?
I don't think so. I mean, one bad thing about Cummings, I gotta admit, he's getting better. I mean, he's definitely a solid guy at light heavyweight, no doubt about it. But his chin is questionable. I mean, we saw Cormier put him out there. We saw OSP recently put him out as well. So his strike defense isn't really where it's at as far as his wrestling goes. Obviously, his wrestling is amazing. I mean, he's proven that already in the cage and beyond. So the guy has that. He's got a lot of power behind him. He's got a good camp behind him, good team. He's got good fight IQ. It's just on the feet. I mean, if he gets in a firefight at all, he's going to probably get knocked out. So, and Glover realizes that. I'm sure he's going to have some confidence going into this fight, thinking, look, if I stuff the takedowns, I'm going to knock this guy out. And that's very possible. And that's probably what happens here. A lot of people might look back at the Phil Davis fight against Glover and say, hey, maybe, Cummings can do something similar. But, Cummings is a little bit different, though. He's not that same grappling style that Phil Davis, even though they're both collegiate wrestlers, they go about things a little bit differently. So I don't think it's going to be that type of fight. I mean, I guarantee you that Cummings is going to be shooting for takedowns. There's no doubt about that, but I don't think he's going to have the success. I think Glover has looked better since that fight as well, since the Davis fight. It almost like he woke up and, he started training more serious again. So if he's game and he's focused, he's going to win this fight. It's just really hard, again, to bet the dog in this situation, even though it's a huge number.
And for me, when I looked at this line, I was thinking dog or pass, in this. But now the way you're explaining it down, and you're reminding me of the beatings that he's taken. I don't want to say beatings, that's disrespectful to Patrick, but the way he got beat earlier, in his career, at 8-2, it's only 2 losses against, better guys. Like these are named guys, not losing to no-name guys. But let's be honest, he is not the wrestler that Phil Davis is when it comes to MMA. He doesn't have that same kind of style, like you said. So it's either bet the favorite or leave it alone. And for me, that number is way too high, so I have to leave this fight completely alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? We hate saying that, but it's true. Out there, you don't want to go crazy. A lot of people are already putting Glover in parlays, and I understand it because, like I said, I think he should win. I'd be really surprised if Cummins pulls off the upset here, if he lands something. I mean, Glover, that's one thing that you got to mention, though, is Glover's chin is a little bit suspect at times, too. He's been rocked, and his defense at times kind of isn't the greatest, but still, compared to Cummins, I mean, I would have a lot more confidence in Glover right now, no doubt about it. So I think he does win, and I'd be surprised if Cummins pulls off the upset here.
Let's move on to the main event, part 3 now of Belfort and Henderson. Vitor's antics before the fight is kind of ducking out on different interviews because he wants to have certain questions asked and only certain questions asked. It's very strange to me. It goes back to the old days of, hey, are you using steroids or not? I mean, obviously, I'm not breaking any news to anybody. He's been caught in the past, and obviously he's had problems with it. And if you look at his early career, when he first fought Randy Couture at heavyweight, you realize that he was juice beyond the gills. So now the question becomes, at the age that Henderson is, at the age that Belfort is, at the fact that these guys are both coming off the slide, you look at the rankings. Belfort is 4, Henderson is 12. how does this fight break down? And remember, I'm severely biased when it comes to Henderson. I lay a lot of faith in that big right hand of his, and when he trains and trains hard, he's one of the best guys who's the weight class. But did he train hard for this, or is he kind of calling it in?
Well, I always got to give Henderson respect. Of course, he's got the H bomb. I mean, he's proven his track record alone. I mean, he's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason. I mean, he's going to just basically be always remembered as one of the greats all time in MMA in the history of the sport. I mean, that's how good the guy is. So I don't think he's mailed it in. I think the guy has that winning drive in him still. I mean, the guy wants to win every fight. Period. He goes out there and he's had, not the greatest time these last couple of years. Obviously, he's fought high level competition, but he's hung with a lot of those guys. I mean, Cormier really was a devastating loss because Cormier kind of ragdolled him. But then again, now he's facing a guy like Vitor that's not that situation. You know what I mean? But Vitor did blow him out there not too long ago as well. That's why you're seeing the line actually climb up. Right now, at the time of the recording, it's minus 365 for Belfort. The comeback on Henderson's plus 305. So that's a little steep, honestly, because I mean, if you're going against a guy that has the power that Henderson does with one punch, he can put him out. Obviously, we've seen it time and time again. So the line's getting a little bit up there. A lot of people are saying that Vitor might not be the same since he's off the roids now as well, and that's true. But even against Weidman, I mean, in that performance, he looked good early on. I mean, he was landing on Weidman. He was giving him all sorts of problems. But then again, the Weidman took over, hung in there, and then dominated that fight. So this is interesting. I wouldn't count Hendo out. I'm kind of pulling for the guy. And I think it is a dogs or pass situation at this point, even though Belfort has a speed advantage. I mean, he is definitely the better striker overall. I mean, I'm not saying that Hendo can't land that H-bomb because obviously he can. But, I mean, as far as striking skill, technical skill goes, Vitor has an edge there. Jiu-jitsu, Vitor has an edge there. Obviously, Henderson has an edge in his wrestling. But you know what? These days, he's in love with that H-bomb. So I don't know if this fight is going to hit the ground. You know what I mean? So it does line up well for Belfort because of that speed and power. And then let's not forget, I mean, Henderson is getting up there. I mean, not that Vitor's younger or not, or anything like that. I mean, they're both getting up there in age. But, I mean, how many wars these guys have been in? And I think, honestly, between the two, Vitor's actually looked better recently than Henderson has. But that being said, like you just said, though, I mean, he's kind of supposed to be clean, and so we don't know how he's going to really perform. I mean, the Weidman fight you can almost throw out the window because I mean Weidman is the best in the division right now at 185. So we'll see how they perform. Honestly, this fight is in Brazil, might motivate Belfort a little bit more. I don't know, but I am going to be rooting for Hendo, no doubt about it. And I think this is a dog or pass situation.
And for me, if you're looking at Vitor, the only thing you really have to worry about is after you get through the first round, how much cardio does he have left? Henderson has shown you he can go as hard as possible all the way for 5 rounds if he needs to. He's never had a problem with his cardio. Yes, he breathes heavy. Yes, he's got a weird breathing pattern. If you put a microphone on him, it sounds like he's Darth Vader just because the way his nasal cavity is structured. But he's got cardio for days. Vitor falls apart after the first round. But is it enough to maintain? And for me, obviously, everyone knows I'm putting my money on Dan. It's not a big secret. You're saying dog or pass. What prop bets are going to be of any kind of value then on this fight if we know it's a dog or pass situation?
Well, obviously, some people might take a stab at Henderson by decision in this one, but 5 rounds is a long time to go for both these guys. So I don't know. I think something's going to give along the way. I don't expect it to go that long. Obviously, the total set's pretty low as well. Total right now is 1.5 rounds, and it's under actually minus 145. So not many people are expecting it to go the distance. So I think you could pretty much throw that out the window, and you go with Henderson by KO. I mean, you're going to get an even better line. I mean, if you like the price at plus 305, then obviously by KO he's going to have a significant higher line as well. And that's very possible. So if you're betting a prop here, I think you bet the H-bomb, put a little bit of money on Henderson by KO. Now, again, I mean, we saw what happened last time, though, so you definitely got to be cautious there because Belfort might go out there and just torch him, honestly. I don't want to see that. I'd like to see this fight play out a little bit so we get an exciting fight that's not over in 20 seconds. But, I mean, we could see that either way, really. We could see it end quick.
Let's not forget, too, that Henderson had that quick KO by the guard Masasi. So that does play into the factor, too, that if Vitor does touch him, it's a question, how is Dan's chin as of now? So this fight's very interesting. It's going to be, a tough one for me to watch live, so it's going to be hard for me to sit at home, watch this one on my couch as it's unfolding because there is so many unknown factors from both guys. Is age a factor? Is being clean a factor? Is your chin being tested still? Do you still have the same chin you had, even 2 years ago versus the guy that's starting to look so much better? Now he's trained down there at the Black Zillions, and he's starting to look so much better, strength-wise and keeping his speed throughout the first round. So we'll see what happens. This one's very interesting for me, but I can't wait for this one to break down. What other fight on this card are you looking forward to?
Actually, this card's pretty good. I mean, let me take a quick glance here. You got Almeida, which is a serious prospect. Obviously, he's on the card against Burchek, which should be a really good fight. I mean, Almeida is a heavy favorite there as well. Hallman, Oliveira. There's quite a few fights on here. Trujillo's back in action against Tibau. That should be interesting. And then everybody in the planet's coming on Johnny Case over Jan Cabral. So, and that, you know what? So I'm interested to see how that one plays out because you got your basically a striker versus grappler matchup there as well. So this fight card, honestly, it's not getting a ton of attention, but it's pretty good. I mean, we're going to see some great fights. In Brazil, it always seems to have that electricity around. I mean, the fans are great there. That atmosphere just brings out, I think, the best in some fighters. So we should see an exciting card. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Well, that's it for Before the Bell. That's Nick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg. Remember to always check back with MMA Oddsbreaker for all your MMA needs. See you next week.